Training camp is about to begin in Allen Park, Michigan. The Detroit Lions are getting ready for a new season, and somewhere across the country, one of the greatest athletes to ever live is sitting alone, writing a goodbye. Not a press conference, not a handshake, a fax. No drama, no tears in front of cameras, no farewell tour, just a fax machine, and then silence. He was 31 years old. He had 1,569 career rushing yards, and he was just 1,457 yards from becoming the greatest rusher in the history of professional football. He walked away anyways. For 25 years, the football world asked the same question. Why? In order to understand why Barry Sanders left, you have to understand what Barry Sanders was. He grew up in Wichita, Kansas, the ninth of 11 children, and just 5 feet 8 inches and 203 pounds. He was told his whole life he was too small, too short, too slight. He didn't even start at running back until the last 5 games of his senior year in high school. He proved every doubter wrong so fast, it was almost embarrassing. At Oklahoma State in 1988, Sanders had arguably the greatest single season in the history of college football. He rushed for 2,628 yards, he scored 37 touchdowns, he set 34 NCAA records, and he won the Heisman Trophy. And it wasn't even close. The Detroit Lions drafted him 3rd overall in 1989. He walked into the NFL and immediately looked like he didn't belong in the same universe as the players trying to tackle him. He led the NFL in rushing 4 times. He was voted to the Pro Bowl every single season he played, all 10 of them. In 1997, he had one of the most dominant individual seasons in league history. 2,053 yards, 14 consecutive 100-yard games, and NFL MVP. He was, by almost every measure, the best running back who ever lived, and he was trapped. Here's what Barry Sanders' NFL career looked like from the outside. 10 Pro Bowls, 6 first-team All-Pro selections, an MVP, over 15,000 yards. Now, here's what it looked like from the inside. 1 playoff win in 10 years. The Detroit Lions were, for almost the entire span of Sanders' career, a deeply dysfunctional organization. They went 7-9 his rookie year. They bottomed out at 5-11 in his final season, and in the 7 years between their lone deep playoff run in 1991 and his retirement, they never won a single postseason game. Barry Sanders ran for over 1,000 yards every year. Every single year, he did his job. He did it brilliantly. And the team around him kept falling apart. Players he had relied on, teammates who made the offense work. They were let go one by one. Pro Bowl center Kevin Glover, a key piece of the offensive line, left after the 1997 season. The supporting cast that surrounded Sanders in his best years quietly disappeared. But that's not the full story either. When Sanders was later asked about his decision, he didn't blame the Lions. He didn't point the finger at ownership or management, at least not entirely. He said something more honest and more quickly devastating. He said the passion just wasn't there anymore. Think about what that means for a second. This is a man who was literally the best in the world at what he did. A man who made football look like art, and by summer of 1999, he woke up and the fire was gone. According to those close to him, he began thinking about retirement as early as 1997, the same year he had his greatest statistical season. On the outside, everything looked perfect. On the inside, he was already asking himself, how much longer do I want to do this? There's one number that haunts this story more than any other. 1,457. That's how many rushing yards stood between Barry Sanders and Walter Payton's all-time NFL rushing record when he retired. In 1998, a down year by his standards, Sanders had rushed for 1,491 yards. He was still averaging over 4.5 yards per carry. He was still making defensive coordinators lose sleep. He was still Barry Sanders. Most people expected him to break the record in 1999, comfortably within the first weeks of the season. He didn't care. That's the part people struggle with the most. The record wasn't enough. Another season wasn't enough. Not even history was enough to keep him in pads. In 2023, when he finally opened up about it in the documentary Bye Bye Barry, he said something that stripped the whole myth away. He said there was nothing left to play for. He didn't see the Lions as a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and without that chance, without the possibility of something bigger than individual stats, the record was just a number. He had spent a decade carrying a franchise. He had poured himself into it. And the one thing football was supposed to give him, a championship, never came. On July 27, 1999, Barry Sanders sent that fax to the Lions training facility, and then he left the country. He flew to London while the football world was erupting behind him. Reporters camping outside Lions headquarters, fans in Detroit in disbelief, former teammates in shock. He was on another continent. He didn't hold a press conference, he didn't do interviews, he didn't explain himself to anyone. His father was bewildered, even angry. He believed the Lions organization had wasted his son's best years, that the front office had failed to build a team worthy of his talent. And guess what the Lions did? They demanded he repay more than $5 million of his signing bonus. And Barry didn't fight it. He didn't sue. He didn't try to negotiate a lower number. He wrote the check and he walked away, and he never looked back. If you made it this far, you already know this channel is more than just highlights. It's about the stories behind the players. And if this one hit different, click subscribe, because we've got a lot more where that came from.